Good evening and welcome to another episode of VI Voices. I'm Emile Henderson III along with Natalie Nelson, Tang, Clint Ferris, and Boyd McFarlane. As you know, we've had our VI Voice campaign and we've been doing it for the last few weeks now, it's 9 weeks now, to get people informed so they're able to make that decision, the correct decisions to move us into a path of prosperity. And that's what we really need. And tonight is no different. We have two individuals who are seeking a seat in the legislature of the Virgin Islands, the 30th legislature. We have with us Mr. Myron Allick and Naomi Sandra Joseph tonight. Two individuals who are no strangers to the political scene. They've ran before, but we felt it was necessary that we speak to everyone so we can get where they're coming from, why they're running, what they have to offer, what about their plans are different from when they ran before, since our times are different. But we'll see that when it comes up, when they come to speak with us. But we'll begin tonight, as we begin every night, with our hot topics. And the first hot topic is the presidential debate of last week, Wednesday. What are your thoughts on that?
I was disappointed.
I would just call it lackluster. Lackluster is the best word to describe the president's performance. I don't believe Mitt Romney won handily. I just think the president, he wasn't distracted. I think it's just a strategy on behalf of the White House, on behalf of his campaign, just to feel Mitt Romney, see what his positions are, and maybe better be ready for him, and especially for the last 2 weeks of the campaign.
But don't you think that's too much of a risk? We have a population that's still undecided, and I think both sides are fighting for those votes. So to me, that's a risky move to try to feel out Romney at this point in time.
Even though I recognize that was a strategy, I too thought it was too much of a risk, because I don't worry about the next guy. I run my race, and if this is my race, I'm going to run it.
And here's what I think is going to happen. What I think is going to happen is, if you listen to Mitt, he made a lot of assertions. I am not going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I think the fact checkers and his people are going to use all of those bites from that specific debate to match it up with things he's already said other places to show him as a liar or a flip-flopper.
But if you think about the electorate on the United States mainland, they're very much akin to our electorate here in the Virgin Islands, because they have a short memory.
Right.
And short memory, and at times they don't vote on the issues. There are other things that compel them to vote and compel their vote, and that's the challenge. I think the president should have talked about the 47%.
He missed opportunities.
Yeah,
for sure.
basically.
I don't think he missed opportunity. I think it was strategy. And first of all, the president is a lot smarter than we think he is. I mean, he's definitely eloquent in his delivery, and I think it was strategy. But the fire side of me is saying that, he could have bring a lot more fire than he did, and he could have pointed out a lot of issues that he did not. The same 47% that they're talking about.
I still think that we're going to see commercials that shows what we said at that debate. I will show what he says in other places and show him as a liar.
We definitely are going to see some commercials.
And you probably let him, when we're in court and we know people are lying, we ask that question, we let them talk and we know they're not telling the truth.
Correct.
Until we're done with them, we've had enough, and then we start asking the questions and showing you where you've been lying. I think that's what happened.
Right. Get them in the room for them to hang themselves.
I do think that's going to happen. That's why I talk about the election cycle, the last 2 weeks, and I think that's where the setup is about. Really get him to put the information, and that he's been rather elusive about what his plans are. So get him to put some of the facts, his plans on record, and then utilize the last 2 weeks of the campaign to really beat him. And I think that's what the last two debates are going to be used for as well.
He still isn't beating him in the polls.
How concerned should be are the polls? I'm a little nervous about the polls.
We should be concerned about the polls. Want to tell you why? I'm not concerned that, because a lot of people, it's just like Cliff Notes when you're in college. People don't read the book, and a lot of people are not engaged as they should. So they're gonna look at the pollsters, see what the pollsters are saying, to gauge what the temperature is of the nation, and then utilize that as how they're gonna vote. And that's why I at times get worried about the pollsters.
Right.
I don't think he lost much momentum. I think
he hasn't.
I don't think he lost much momentum at all, even though he lost his debate, so to speak. But
let's put it this way: he didn't lose momentum, but
Mitt Romney gained some.
Mitt Romney gained, but it's not a significant gain. In my opinion, it's not a significant gain.
I don't think
because
so.
The reason why I felt that President Obama should have jabbed him a little bit more is because the domestic policy is what we care about. You see, the other two debates are not on the economy. And so clearly, hands down, he's going to beat him in the foreign policy and stuff. And the other stuff that's coming up
How many more
But I think the
opportunities
American
do you have?
people are
right?
more concerned with the
I think
economy
anything
right
you'll bury
now, locally. You know what
in
I'm
the
saying?
next 2.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's ready. I don't think no matter
who's ready.
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney to be president. He's not ready.
No, he's-
And I think those individuals who, and I put a post on my Facebook after that incident, after the debate, and I said, if you decided tonight that you're going to vote for Mitt Romney because of this debate, then you never really won the fence. That alone cannot make you decide, oh, I'm going to go with him. Now, you were just looking for an excuse to go with Mitt Romney, so go right ahead. And but I do believe that those who are really indecisive, they need more. They're going to go out to look a little bit more before, because the foreign policy, in my opinion, is directly related to the economy. Because Mitt Romney wants to make sure $2 trillion remain in defense spending, where a lot of the Republicans have their friends who are providing services to the military. You cut that, then you don't get the money that you normally would get, or the contracts that you would get. So it's interesting to see how that's going to work. But you know, we'll follow that. I know that another debate is coming up, and we'll be talking about that again as we get closer to the election. The next issue, GERS. Okay, now, Natalie and I have been out for the last couple of days. So, what is going on with the GERS?
In what regards? Are you talking about it?
I mean, you're right.
So talking about
It's like,
no, because if you're talking about the retirees and the insurance premium.
well, let's talk about the retirees and insurance premium, because I've been hearing a lot of people talking about that.
And to me, and I think it's a sound economical move on the part of the administration to basically, these folks are retired, and so you let them pay a greater portion of their insurance. Is it in terms of social?
They're getting less.
But they're getting less. But so
and they can't afford it.
They can't afford it. So economically, it sounds good on that side. But socially, to me, it's rather inept, because basically, again, the least among us is who you want to carry the greatest burden. So to me, that's not sound. You understand where the number crunchers are coming from.
Yeah, but I would think those newer people who are coming in will probably be making a lot more than the retiree who is on a fixed annuity income, right? Should be the ones to pay the greater portion, because they're the ones that are working and paying into the system. And these individuals have paid in their money to the system.
But where is the savings? Now tell me, they've done so much for prevention. Now if I don't, let's say for 5 years, I don't have a catastrophic illness, I just go for preventative services all throughout the last 5 years. Shouldn't there be some savings realized by the government?
No, that's not how insurance companies work.
Hold on. I'm talking, but in your car insurance, in some ways it works that way.
Yeah, but not for health. If you don't use it, you don't use it.
No, you don't use it. But if you're putting prevention and some people have savings overall, but it shouldn't be there something different to how the system is constructed?
The way the system is set up, you may carry the weight for others who need that medical on a regular basis. At the end of the year, when they count up all the you may not have used it, but you're paying the price for the others, and that's why the insurance premiums go up from year to year.
Correct, but isn't there, and there's some projections, the actuaries sit down, they plot.
You're asking them to do work, Clint.
No,
and they're not doing that kind of work.
But that's what actuaries do with insurance companies.
Right, but you're asking this group to do that. They don't do that kind of work. But we'll come back on the back end. And I want to make sure we finish this conversation about that, because it is going to impact these people who are on fixed income and they can't do it.
Correct.
But when we get back, we'll have Myron Allick back in a moment. Thank you. Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. We have with us Myron Allick. Mr. Allick, welcome to VI Voices.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Allick is seeking a seat in the 3rd Legislature of the Virgin Islands. And for those individuals who don't know who you are, let them know who you are and why are you seeking a seat?
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. As Mr. Henderson said, my name is Myron Allick. I'm an independent candidate, number 27 on your ballot. And I'm seeking a seat in the 30th Legislature because, I've worked because the experience I've garnered in the private industry that I think I can bring to change, to make a difference in what goes on in our community today. I've worked 30 plus years as a hotel manager, business developer, and also in professional services. In 2002, I brought investors to St. Croix. That's that bought and purchased the property, which we now know as St. Croix Renaissance Group. And my platform initiative that I'm going to propose to you in this time is education, economy, and energy. Why I say education? Because education, number one, is the antidote for so much of our social problems that we have today. Economy and energy is so interrelated because without the other, we some of the hardships that we are enduring at this time because of our high energy costs.
How would this water harvesting system benefit our economy?
Okay, water harvesting benefits in a tremendous way. What happens here? We have to look for programs or initiatives that stop us from using energy or the high fuel that we have. Let me just give you a synopsis why it makes sense. Last year, Hovensa purchased $270 million worth of fuel to make energy. 10% of that was dedicated for water. If we could curtail that, and that's, okay, do the numbers, 270 million, 10% of that is 27 million. If we could cut that in half by water harvesting. Why I say that? Because water comes from God. It's already in usable form. So again, to jumpstart the economy, the benefits are you create jobs because you have to fix the waterways, fix Creaky Dam and create other dams to store the water, to create storage capacity. The next thing that it does, it stops the road erosion. When you drive up there, you see the terrible condition of the roads. It also assists with the impact that the water has on the marine environment. Imagine it takes thousands of years to make topsoil and we just let that be rolled to the sea, causing affecting the reef system. We have our underground aquifers that we need to replenish. By the water rushing to the sea, we don't get to replenish that. And also, I might add that because of the sensitivity of the underground aquifers, it's a 7-to-1 ratio, meaning that if you pump, because it's the salt water, the fresh water rests on the salt water, and if you pump an inch off of the fresh water, 7 inches of salt water coming. So it's very sensitive. That's what I want to make that point. Also, the standing water that we have in our communities, we get to get rid of that. And plus, one of the biggest things is that we're now able to export water because we could store, bottle that, using the empty container to ship back to the States or wherever.
But what's the cost for infrastructure for getting something like that?
Well, this is the opportunity we have right now. It's very unfortunate that we didn't have the relationship we should have had with Hovensa. Because now Hovensa has done certain things for the negotiation that's going to go forward. First thing he says, we used to pay you $40 million in property tax. We only want to pay you $4. And our submerged lands lease that we had, we used to pay you about $800,000 to $900,000. Now we're going to pay you $1 a year for that. Now the life.
Who negotiated that?
Excuse me?
Who negotiated that?
That wasn't negotiated yet. That's what Hovensa put on the table to our government.
That was that was their proposal.
And I'm looking at it from this point of view, being that I've been in the business, sat at the table when these things happen.
Yeah.
And most of the time, when you have these companies that have environmental impacts on your community, they're willing to do something and not just give you money and to have an effect on the whole community. So imagine the life of the contract is 10 years. So you have $10 million of savings to Hovensa because they're not paying you 14 anymore, they're paying you 4. So that's $100 million.
How many years do we have on the contract?
10 more left.
10 more
that's
years.
That's $100 million in savings to them. So they could use 50 or 60 million of that money to do what I'm talking about. Other things as well. And the federal government usually goes in to help with any kind of program that going to impact the reef system that we have here. Okay. So the money, we will have no actual capital outlay once we negotiate correctly.
Right.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be that costly for us.
No, we're looking. I'm envisioning that no cost outlay for us.
I see.
But the benefits are so immense.
Right.
Okay, good. Now, Mr. Allick, I'm looking at your plan, and you talk about energy, economy, and energy, and then in your presentation,
education.
thus far, and education.
Yes.
Education, economy, and energy.
Yeah.
And you, in your presentation thus far, you also encapsulate environment.
Yes.
Because and I'm seeing that that's a very good thing, because we need to be good stewards of our environment. And how do we now make our environment work for us? Generate revenue,
yes,
and move the Virgin Islands forward.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Creaky Dam.
Yes.
You mentioned that one aspect. Is there any other aspect of our natural and national product that we have here that we can utilize in your plan to move the Virgin Islands forward?
Yes, it's also another plan is that we have a primary and a secondary water treatment plant. Now we have a tertiary plant, but that's a third treatment of the water system. That actually brings the water to almost drinking quality. We send 2 million gallons plus of water to the ocean every day. If we just, the plant is already built, it's sitting there. It's not doing anything. We already expended money to fix this plant. If we use that plant, a tertiary water treatment, now we could store that water and then we could use the water to flush the bathrooms and use for other, for farming, industry. We could use this water to flush bathrooms in our public plant, in the schools, the jail for instance. And these are the things that we gotta look for as far as.
Well, these plants that you're talking about with the water harvesting, will they bring jobs to the territory?
They will bring jobs because
how many jobs would it bring?
The new industry. I can't tell you a number, but I'm telling you it's going to bring jobs because in construction phase, you have to build. You got to fix the waterways. You have to build the dam, and then you have to maintain them. So it's a new industry that you have to maintain. And the other thing is that now you give people an opportunity to actually export water. So our community now, we can start thinking about exportation. And that shows the strength of your economy as well, as you know.
Now, you talk about that. Let's talk about your energy plan. Because, the LEAC was raised once again, another 25%. I'm not sure exactly where they expect the people to pay any more money. What is your plan for us to help to fix the energy crisis in this territory? Short term? And the long term.
Sure. Unfortunately, the quagmire we find ourselves in today was created years ago from the inactions of our past leaders, elected leaders. I can remember actually applying for responding to 2 different RFP that WAPA had. And I'm a proponent of coal. Why I say coal is because we have a plant that's here, we have a resource that's here. And in fact, back in, I think it's 2005, 2006, I think it's A.W. Beck report that actually when they asked them about, it was a condition assessment report for WAPA. And they asked, well, what resources can change the LEAC that you have on island? Only two resources could change that. That was the petroleum coal and the coal. And why I'm a proponent of coal, because everybody's running around because of the BTU value. The BTU value means that's the measurement they use to measure the heating value of the different fuels. So let me give you a brief synopsis of that. For oil and gas, it's $25 to $30 per million BTU. Liquid propane gas is $20 per million BTU. And liquid natural gas exported is $13 to $15 per million BTU. Coal is $4 per million BTU. So you go figure which resources would you need that we need right now to lower the LEAC,
but how will that be on our environment? Well, is it safe on the environment?
You have water that's burning unregulated. If you go ahead and put in all the control mechanisms, the baghouses, the scrubbers, and the federal government will assist with this. You see, that's the thing that we don't tap into. We as a community, and it gets to be a little irate in a sense. We as a community, we never made a case to the federal government to what this high cost of energy is doing to our economy. The national average per kilowatt hour is 10.95 cents. We're paying 5 times that amount.
Sure.
How can we survive in a depressed economy? But we never make a case as a group of people, but when it comes to not, I'll use the term loosely, to kill a deal. When it comes to, if you had petroleum coke being burned, the public uproar makes a difference in what we do. But to things that would be progressive for our community, we seem not to have the same aggressiveness to have it happen.
But, Mr. Allick, you made some very good points thus far. And we talk about jobs, but to the working men and women in this community who are hurting, because they're hurting for various reasons. And the working men and women and small business, they're definitely hurting. What immediate fixes can you put in place to, one, stop the bleeding, and then maybe set up some things that are going to be medium and long term? Stop the bleeding and then take them to where they need to go.
Unfortunately, we're in a position now where we're in crisis. Yes,
we've always been in crisis. I don't think we ever came out of crisis.
I don't know though.
But and that's the problem we have right now. We're in crisis, and I said, because of inactions of past administration, there's no easy fix at this point.
Well, let me stop.
Well,
okay. I know I think we all can agree that the inaction of everybody else from long ago caused it. Tell the people exactly what Myron Allick, when he gets there, understanding that you're only one senator, so you can't do it by yourself.
Exactly.
What exactly is your short-term goal or your short-term plan, as Clint said, to stop the bleeding of the Virgin Islands people?
Okay, in regards to coal, for instance, to energy, I would go right away to go for an emergency emergency plan to start the coal plant.
Emergency plan meaning?
Emergency meaning that
I'm
going to EPA because the EPA is working against us in this way because we're being judged on what happened in the States. You have all these different rules, which is, that affects a coal plant coming online. We have the Sinclair Renaissance has the permits, but we have to go to EPA and let them fast track what needs to happen because of the effect and all coming. So you're looking at about 2 years out. That's a short-term fix. In the long term, because the renewables are not affordable or efficient at this point. And the next thing that's very concerned, and I'm very concerned about, is this liquid natural gas. Because we're looking at liquid a lot of people are running around wanting to institute liquid natural gas because it's cleaner and all of this. But I've looked at this quite extensively to know that it's a big surplus in the States, and notice the States it's actually a fossil fuel as well, and they're going through a lot of discussion right now whether to keep it nationally because it'll drive the cost down. But when they do that, they actually kill the innovative, they actually kill the renewables like your solar and wind because they cannot compete with the price. But the thing about that is that it's a fossil fuel. And of course, if you can make more money exporting it, like let me give you a quick example. Boone Pickens, who was an oil guru, now he jumped off oil right now, and he went into renewables. He went into the windmills, and after that, now he's on liquid natural gas. And what he's doing right now to say we have to be concerned with prices. We can't remember the days I used to pay 25 cents a gallon for gas. Okay, so what is he doing now? He's lobbying Congress to tell them that we want to force the 18-wheel trucker that goes across the country to change their technology to burn liquid natural gas because they want to drive the price. The price is too low. And this is going to happen all over the world. So we got to be concerned about what type of fuel that we bring here to be a replacement for oil.
Right.
I see.
And as I said before, until the renewables become affordable and efficient, we need a quick fix. And the fix to me right now, because they have a plant right here on island, the resources here is coal. And coal is now, because of the reaction of natural gas, is dirt cheap as well.
So if you were successful, you would be pushing the wind.
Renewables is going to have this plan. Yes, I will. I am pushing an integrated energy system. That's what we need. Puerto Rico has done it, and they have maintained their cost to 35 cents, 37 cents per kilowatt hour. We are going to be 40, 50 soon. So that's what we need. An integrated energy system to include all these renewables we spoke about.
So while we're running out of time, I want you to let the audience know exactly what your number is on the ballot.
Sure.
A little bit of yourself, where they can find you. They need to get some more information because the 15 minutes go by rather quickly. You can't get everything covered.
It's gone already, right?
But let them know where they can find you.
Yes.
And your ballot number, and give you some time to close out.
Again, I'm Myron Allick, and I'm number 27 on your ballot. And I'd like to close by quoting one of the greatest human beings that ever lived, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And what he said is that a true measure of a man is not where he stands at times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. These are indeed times of challenge and controversy. Therefore, you must elect people who are up to the challenge. If we continue doing the same old process, we're not going to get any different results. I can tell you this because look at what happened the other day. At the pump, the senators instituted a 7-cent tax. Just imagine that. That's paying at the pump.
Additional to the 7 was already there.
Exactly. And the jury is out on the 6% and what it does. By the way, they're still buying all the oil from Hovensa. So why are we being charged at that at this time? But that's what they know. Tax you, tax you, tax you. Nobody goes out and feels the pulse of our small business to see what condition they are in. My plan, and I talked to you about water harvesting, right off the bat, you have a $13.5 million saving without no capital outlay. good for the people of the Virgin Islands. You must elect people who are going to work in the best interest of the people of the Virgin Islands. I also talk about a resume bank, that we track our high schoolers that goes into college and now gets the experiences and that they gather by being out in the world. So that when businesses come here on St. Croix, we have a talented pool of Virgin Islanders that we could tap into to take these non-traditional jobs, create models for our young people coming up. So this is where I'm going with my thinking. We have to
what is your ballot number?
Sure.
I don't think you said it.
You can catch me at, my phone number is 340-690-4535. And I have my email address is myron.allick@gmail.com. At myron.allick@gmail.com. I'm a native son. I like to talk about my parents. I'm a son of Wilfred Elisha Bomba Allick and Mrs. Eugenia Emile Saki Allick. So I'm from two families that well grounded on St. Croix. That if you're an Allick, you're related, and if you're a Saki, you're related.
And you're still inside your ballot number.
I am number 27. Thank you for
Mr.
that.
Allick, one of the important thing is going to be listening when you get to the legislature.
I got to get used to that.
Okay. Please do. All right. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
And thanks for inviting me.
And we will look and see how you do.
I really thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. We have with us now Naomi Sandra Joseph, who is seeking a seat in the 30th Legislature of the Virgin Islands. Good evening, Ms. Joseph, and welcome to VI Voices.
Good evening.
For those who don't know who you are, I don't know who wouldn't know who you are, but for those who don't know who you are, let them know a little bit about you and why are you seeking a seat in this upcoming legislature.
Well, I'm Naomi Sandra Joseph. I am a native Virgin Islander. I was born here back in 1962, prematurely as a matter of fact. So I've been fighting from the day I took breath. So that's what I know what to do. Here in the territory, I have been a wife for the last 22 years. I am a member of the Virgin Islands Police Department where I hold the rank of sergeant. I'm assigned as a detective in the Criminal Investigation Bureau. And I work with special victims, most of people who have been victimized sexually, women and children, and men. There are few in between, but there are men as well. And I've been the president of the Police Benevolent Association, the union. I represent the rank and file officers. I did that for 12 and a half years. I negotiated their contract. I represented them as their attorneys. And I think that skill set gave me, I believe, what it takes to take the Virgin Islands from where we are. I don't profess to have all the answers. I don't think there's nobody who's going to come here in front of you and tell you otherwise, because none of us do. But in law enforcement, which is my strength, we have rising crime each and every month. For the last 10 years, we have had at least 2 homicides. And most of them are cases that deal with opportunities for young people, them getting involved in drugs because there's no alternative. And so what I seek to do, to me at least, is elementary. Let's teach these children, who we know for the most part are academically weak, and refocus them. Put a tool in their hand, not a gun, a tool, a hammer, a saw. Make them carpenters, make them masons. Fix shoes, because we women know a tip on the shoes is $4 for 1 tip. There's money there. There's entrepreneurship and opportunities that exist. And
So how do you intend to do that? What will your plan to get that done?
Well, by changing the curriculum, by making vocational education mandated. And not just for academically weak children, but for everybody. Because even our young who are going to college, if they can do here, they can make money on the campus and have an opportunity to study and not have to look for another job, but they have a skill. They leave with one. So I think that if we have a child in school, for instance, and he can't read well, but he has a passion to to work with wood, he would stay in school and learn that skill. And we haven't lost him.
And still learn reading.
And still learn reading,
Okay.
of course. But the opportunity would be for us to have him there.
Right.
Right now, we're losing him. He's leaving. He's getting involved with criminal activity. And then I have to encounter him on a daily basis while working in my field. I encounter young men, and they're out of school from 7th grade. 7th grade. And they can barely put 2 words together. You know the farm that we utilize. I mean, the 2 of your attorneys. A simple advisorized farm. And when you can't go, you have the right to remain silent. And they can read along with you. That's a problem. And so
let me ask you this quick question, though, Ms. Joseph. As a law enforcement officer, what it would be your plan and your stance on the return of community policing? Because I'll be very honest with you, right? I think there are some very good police officers that get a very bad rap because of the very bad police officers that have been coming to the force as of late. That's what I believe. And what about the time when you have police officers, the community policing, which means in my community, I knew that police officer because they weren't afraid to roll around in my community. Hey, Emile, how you doing? They weren't afraid to go into your businesses and come and make sure you're doing okay. I work in Frederickstead now. There was a time when the officers that were assigned in Frederickstead, they walked up and down that street, came into your business, everything okay? Nobody bothered you. I have yet, as of late, to see one police officer in Frederickstead walk around Frederickstead during the daytime.
You see, our biggest problem is this. Our strength, authorized strength is 250. We're nowhere near that. And so now the officers now have to not only patrol, but on a given day, every second the phone is ringing at 911. And they're being dispatched elsewhere. So now we have...
But didn't they just give the peace officer status to the federal people? Bring some of them if you don't have enough people.
That peace officer status doesn't put man on the street for you. All that does...
Tell them again, please, because I think people are confused as to what that bill means. Tell them one more time.
It does not put men on the street. What it does, it gives the federal officer who knows...
To come in and shoot you and go back, where did they come from?
Well, allow him now,
without penalty.
Well, he knows,
It's okay
he
to
now
say it.
have the ability now to enforce what he might call a local infraction, which he didn't have before.
Right.
It doesn't make your manpower strength any greater than it was the day before the bill came into effect.
But those local...
So
go ahead.
it doesn't help us, honestly. You know, I know my police commissioner was out there pushing it, but he's a retired federal officer. So, and this only came into an existence because a federal officer killed somebody utilizing excessive force, that if I had done so, I would have been in jail, rotting all now. Because conveniently during that trial, we couldn't even say that we had a deceased. I mean, any which way, we come out.
No, you made a point about, you need to talk about community police.
Which is a good thing.
And also, in a part of your platform, you promote more use of cameras.
Technology to that. But because police can't be everywhere.
We understand that police can't be everywhere. But hasn't that been the problem in the Virgin Islands thus far? That police haven't been anywhere, and to fix that problem, we keep putting cameras here, cameras there.
But
cameras don't work anyway.
We don't have, listen, we've been doing piecemeal stuff.
Okay.
So what we've been doing is we had a grant that we received a federal grant, and we installed some cameras in the towns. And then we ran out of money to maintain them.
Exactly.
And so they're pointing at places that can't help none of us. So what we need is a monitoring station. You need cameras that work with people sitting there. I mean, I look at what happened, for instance, in London. I have family there, I'm back and forth there. And in the metropolitan part of the town, when you get there, you on camera at least 36, 30 sometimes before you walk out, you leave the town. I mean, in every aspect, you walk in the store, I'm not saying become your big brother, but we have a small force, a small community with big problems. And if we could use technology to fill the gap, because all we're hearing is attrition. They're not replacing. You still have the big problems. Oh, children watch television every day and want to emulate what they see. They want to walk around with guns and use the guns. We don't have no control of our dock, none whatsoever. Contrary to what anybody tell you. That's a federal port. It's customs is supposed to be inspecting those containers to see what's coming in and what's leaving. That's not happening the way it's supposed to be happening. We have no control, none.
Ms. Joseph, education is definitely the key to curtailing crime and stemming the tide when it comes to crime. But we know children, when they come out of the womb, they are definitely not bad. They are very good, very cute. But over time, things impact their lives to have them turn out the way they do. And sometimes we know it's all about parenting. How do you hope to help parents be better parents to help you effectuate change at the crime level?
There's some things you can legislate. You know, when you have a child, it doesn't come with a manual. And in past, I'm 50 now, and my parents had grandparents and other supporting family members to help. But that has diminished. And so we have children that are raising themselves because parents have to go out there and work more than one job just to make ends meet. And I think that's the reality we all know exists.
But we also have children raising children because of, you know, younger parents now or single parents.
But you know, my mother was 15 years old when she had me. And when she died at 59, she had a master's degree in education. So I know that young parenthood is a problem, but it's also you, your mind, who you want to be. And if you want to be better, you can. But I think if we can teach them, if we can teach them.
We have some children grandmothers who are 28. It's a different time. I really do. I don't know how to legislate parenting. I don't think you actually can do that. But what you can do,
we can put programs in place though. We can put programs in place to help a young mother. You know, get her with the skills that she needs. So and some of those things exist, like Human Services do have some of those programs. Women Coalition have a young motherhood training program to kind of teach you the fundamentals
how
to take care.
The preventative aspect of it to probably discourage.
But we need more after school programs for the young people to go to. After school, so idle hands. You know, if we can get them busy,
but
I believe that
they have no money.
But that's if we don't spend money now on their education, we're going to spend money incarcerating them. And that's another thing. We incarcerate them and you put somebody in jail 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Captive audience. And you allow them to come out of jail the way they went in? Let's fix that. Let's make sure when they come out of jail, if they went in without a high school diploma, they come out with one. If they went in without a skill, they come out with one. And don't just give them a skill. Give them a tool pan to walk with. So there's no excuses as to why you couldn't get out there and get a job. They already have a label on them, convict. And we know that hinders them. So we just have to work. I think that we have to do more than just lock them up and forget them. We have to lock them up, yes, for when they do their infractions, but we have to make sure we reform them. So when they come out, they can actually be part of our community, a productive part of our community.
Do you have a plan because we have a prison.
We have a prison.
But we don't have a rehabilitation.
No.
Program.
The program is, they have something that they try to help with a GD program. The young men and them have been complaining that the classes are not as regular as they would want it to be.
Because they don't fund them.
Right. And so, if you could, I think you understand where I'm at.
Yeah, I do.
And I think the listening audience and viewing audience could see that if we don't reform prisoners, we have a recycling, we just have a revolving.
We are a correctional facility, you know.
Not
There's
a
a difference between a
rehabilitation.
correctional facility and a simple prison.
Right.
Because we're supposed to correct them prior to them.
But we're not.
We operate just as a prison.
We're not.
Right.
We have these people are they re-entering the system over and over again. And in some cases we have some judges that's way too lenient and forces, you know, legislatures to come up with mandatory sentencing. And I know some defense attorney, I know defense attorney is not going to agree on that.
Mandatory sentencing.
But
I don't believe in that.
But
because
if you
let me tell you why.
okay, but
Let me
if
tell
you
you
have
why.
a judge,
Because we have some of the strictest laws of any jurisdiction in the United States of America, all 50 states and all of their territories.
Emile,
and we are number what, 2 in the crime rate. So I don't subscribe to penalties.
Could you imagine a young girl in her parents' home, and she is victimized every day by her father, who is raping her. She get pregnant for him, and that case is taken to court, and a judge give that man probation after his grandchild is his child. That's why mandatory sentence sometimes have to come into play.
Whoever the judge is,
That's a
our
problem.
role is then to put whatever you want to say about that specific judge, and hopefully the governor will make whatever decision he wants to remove a person from the bench if they feel that the judge is not doing what is in concert
So you
with
see
the law.
mandatory sentencing as a problem,
But
bosses
the
as a
reason why,
solution.
because it takes away a judge's ability to frame.
Yes, I see that. I hear you. But then look at the scenario, and I'm not talking about a make-believe something. This is something that happened here on St. Croix.
But remember,
within
the
this
federal,
last
court,
year.
the federal courts have those too, those sentencing guidelines.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that. So it's the same as it is locally here. But we run out of time for you.
Already, even get into.
But I want, you know what? I want you to talk, if you're going to talk shortly.
Okay.
Not now.
Okay.
About your health care, because that's a big thing you have listed
Yes,
here.
yes.
Yeah,
And we're going to have a
because-
major issue with that right now. What is your plan to bring us adequate, cost-effective health care?
That's a loaded question. Now, I can tell you what my question is. And so from my question, I'm going towards an answer. Okay?
Oh, I hope so.
Okay. I believe that's halfway there. If you have the question, then you can find the answer. Now, we know that Wang Louis is not where it should be. I think we could all agree on that.
Right.
You go to Wang Louis, currently there's not sufficient providers, whether physicians or nurses. And then they don't have the equipment that you need. So I want to re-look at the division of health and hospital. Was that a wise one? Because we're paying $500,000 just for 2 people in the hospital right now. The CEO and CFO, we pay $500,000. We know we had corruption in St. Thomas, and I believe the same thing is happening in St. Croix. Haven't been able to get there and police that yet. But in the sense of healthcare, I want to see a trauma care unit, because any one of us at any time can get in an auto accident and we need that trauma care. That means we need specialty care. We need physicians who can work in that short window, stabilize you, get you to where you either get surgery or push you out on a plane. We need to have urgent care centers in both towns, because right now the emergency room is being used as a clinic. Anything after 6 onward, you have women there with the babies, colds, whatever, simple things that would normally be seen by a family physician. But again, the way money is, we can't afford to have that. And the clinic is appointments and weeks of waiting. So my plan is to have urgent care centers in both towns. Where the money is going to come from, that's the question. Now, we're taxing on everything. Now, it may not be, especially now with the economy the way it is. But I think the way to pay for it might be to institute sales taxes and get away with the
And next tax.
no,
With the what?
the excise taxes that we're paying, get that out to the picture and just get to a sales tax. And then focus the sales tax towards the 2 main things that government was invented for: your public safety and your health. And that's why government exists. And if we can take those 2 things to where it needs to be, then we all of us, regardless of where we stand financially, we will be better off for it.
But Joseph, I'll give you 30 seconds to just let the audience know your number and about where they can find you to get some more information.
Naomi Joseph, I have a website. It is naomi4senate.com. I'm number 18 on the ballot, and I'm saying that if we continue to do things the same way, we will always have the same result. So it's madness, and I want to move us away from that, change the direction. Don't profess to have all the answers, but I know the questions. That's halfway there, and if you allow me to get in there and work for you, this is one woman whose nose will never get brown and hand will never get greasy. I will be there to work for you honestly, and that's what you need, honest representation. Not somebody who's going in the legislature for their own reasons, financial or otherwise, but somebody who truly have you at heart. I've actually given of myself to the Borderlands for the last 28 years in the Borderlands Police Department. I could have left like all my siblings, but I chose to be here because this is my home, and I plan not to leave. I just ask you for an opportunity to serve you On November 6th, don't forget number 18 on the ballot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joseph.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back in a moment.
All right.
And welcome back. Tonight, a wonderful show, I thought. Two very clear individuals as to what they want, what the directions are. They seem to be looking at two different things. Mr. Allick, of course, focused a lot on WAPA and coal energy. And you had Ms. Joseph, a lot on the crime and education, how to work for alternatives for children and her healthcare issues.
Correct. One of the things that I have to say, listening to both of them speak to us this evening, I realize that the rest of the world, or the rest of the mainland United States of America, is in the 21st century. And we seem to be languishing in post-mid-20th century, and we need to really rush our Virgin Islands to the 21st century, because there's a lot of things that Ms. Joseph pointed out, Mr. Allick pointed out, that we are definitely not doing, and we need to move like urgent care. Like, for instance, even I got to think about the rest of the mainland United States have
urgent care centers.
They have paramedics assigned to the fire department and ambulances assigned
to. We do have firefighters who are actually paramedics.
Yeah,
but they don't want to pay them.
Correct, and the ambulances are not at
the additional, and right, they're not there.
And so, see, we're still struggling to make sure we provide those services to our people and bringing our community
I'm
back.
not sure we're struggling. We are not putting it where they belong.
Exactly.
Okay. Putting the resources where they
belong. And
belong.
outsiders could tell the state of our living just by our infrastructure, the services we provide for our own people, our schools, and just basic things like that.
And these two candidates also mentioned infrastructure, and they think that is so problem with the Virgin Islands. They mentioned the roads, lacking gutters for roads for water can move up to the side, and that's mentioned in both of their platforms.
Remember, 2 years ago we had a young lady, Miss Rita, died
in that water.
In that tragic accident of the Lagrange. We should have dying, and because of the roads not being properly done for draining. And to this day, I'm not sure they've even remedied that problem.
Correct. But even just take a look, go up to Christiansted at the boardwalk. And now we're talking about this is a tourist economy. Remember, about 2 to 3 years ago, the boardwalk got damaged from that sudden storm. It's a major hazard. We are not paying attention to our infrastructure and putting the resources where they need to be put. And we are telling the world, yes, St. Croix and the wider Virgin Islands is open for business. We are really sending mixed messages to the rest of the world.
You know, Mr. Allick made a quote, said a quote from Martin Luther King about, you know, where you stand in times of trouble. But it reminded me of another quote, and I think that Martin Luther King quote is a great quote for us to look for people coming in. But it reminded me of a Shirley Chisholm quote, where she said she is unbought and unbossed. And I'm looking for those kind of people too. Those who, no matter what you say to them, they would rather leave the building than become bought and bossed by other people.
See, and Emile and Natalie, you know, this is where I sat here and I said, you know, I want people to reflect my philosophies and my views. And those are the things I like. Because I've always told my people, say I'm kind of strange. I tell people, now I only have 4 bosses: my mother and my 3 children. Those are the people I have to do anything for in this world. And I think that's what we should take the perspective, that whole thing to us. That, you know, yes, we need to think about others, and we need to realize we can't sell out, we can't brown nose, we can't do anything because there's too much people depending on us.
You know why? I think that we're electing people who. That's what I'm looking for. Not only self-serving, but we're electing people who have no place else to go. Do you understand?
And sometimes sometimes they have good intentions, but after they get in there, sometimes the corruption is overwhelming, and that's where the character and the integrity comes in.
They see the power.
Yes.
Right.
But I said the road to hell is what paved with what? Good intentions. And these people they're well intended. Yes, they're well intended, but they're not. At times, their good intentions do not meet with great community service and succinct and direct leadership. and deliberate leadership also. They're not deliberate. It goes all over the place. What's deliberate is that is the people first, and everybody else afterwards.
I'm looking for people who, in their minds, when they're there to look out for the political personalities. They have ethics, they have integrity, and they really want to do what's best for the people. And most importantly, it's okay if they lose in the 31st.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. You don't like what I've done? Okay, then I'll go back to whatever I was doing, and it's okay. When you're there because you're concerned about making sure I win again, that's when I think you start to make those bad decisions.
Exactly. I think what we need is a diversity of people that's in there, in terms of their qualifications, their backgrounds, their ideas, just an influx of innovativeness. I think we're just lacking that as we are now. And that's why we're so stagnant.
And you're right, we do need to look at diversity in the legislature. And that's one of the things that I'm looking for on my ballot this year.
You don't think we have diversity in the legislature?
No, we don't.
I don't think so.
We don't. I mean, because people, most of them that in the all them think alike. Think alike, behave alike, and all probably feed at the same trough. I want people that can come in and they can bring their ideas and respect that man for his ideas and his experiences, and don't.
I think we do have people in there that will bring their ideas, but once again, like you said, there is a backbone and a character that they don't have.
Which don't make them diverse.
Reverse. I
will say this is one of the first times that I can recall in my mind since I've been a voter for the Senate that I am contemplating seriously voting for a person that has associated themselves with the Republican Party.
But
I mean, to add some checks and balances to the confusion that's going on there.
I'm looking for candidates that associate themselves with the people. And when I say the people, I'm talking about the masses, the people in the Virgin Islands. 80% of the people in the Virgin Islands, the people of color. People of color have issues to address those specific issues.
And I agree with that, and I still go back to the people who are community oriented, who have dedicated their lives to serving the community, because you don't just change when you get in there just because, regardless of the influences. I think if you've shown a track record, and many of these candidates that we've had have come before us have had that kind of track record in one form or another, whether in government or in private, but dedicating your life to the people first.
I hear what you're saying.
You know, being in politics is not easy. It's a dedication of your life. You no longer have your personal life once you take.
But it's your choice.
Correct. But
it's your choice.
Yeah, but to me, community service, my litmus test for community service isn't just being a voice on the radio. Community service is actually putting boots on the ground, minding yourself in the people's problem and working on it. But I'm going to say this. I am liking the women candidates that I'm seeing in this election. And you know the funniest thing, I'm going to say it, I'm a man, I am 100% man, and I'm proud of it. But it seems like some of these women coming before us are more backbone than most of these men who are presently in the legislature.
Now let me say one thing about doing a change or something, seeking about change or something, and not doing things the same way all the time. I think she's absolutely correct in that. And in doing so, I think we should select candidates that know themselves. Because once you know yourself and know who you are, you know your people, and you generate that kind of love that's necessary for you to do for the people, and look and see yourself in the collective and not just as yourself.
And you know, guys, while I agree with all of that, I think we come right back to the basics, the person's character, their integrity. Those qualities are key.
Yeah.
If they lack those qualities going in,
but then qualities ain't thing you acquire overnight. That's something you need to have. Where does it come from?
It's a part of you.
It's a part for us to decipher through. But you know, we are about other time. I just want to make sure that everybody goes out, that they vote as though your life depends on it, because it does. Remember that your voice can make a difference. Good night, everybody.